Hello, my Facebook family and friends. As I promised, I will be going live certainly every weekday for the rest of November. And so, as I've been reflecting about the issue of co-parenting, it is such an awesome responsibility. I think working as a co-parent is way more awesome and takes a lot more courage, bravery, and work than if we were in a relationship with our partners. So today I'm going to start by looking at one aspect of how gender stereotypes affect us in our co-parenting relationship. And I'm going to start back with a little quote. Each day of our lives, we make deposits in the memory banks of our children. And that's something we always have to keep in the back of our minds. That every action, direct or indirectly, is going to be in the memory bank of that child. So, co-parenting, like anything else, it's done against the backdrop of a macro-social fabric, where our roles are already defined, some of them stereotypical. And unfortunately for men, and I do say unfortunately, this image of male dominance and male hegemony sometimes works against them in the parenting relationship. Because over the years, we have been taught, and people are still being taught, that real men don't cry. Real men don't have emotions except it's anger. Real men aren't empathetic. If you get hit, you must hit back twice as hard. And those consequences have made us sort of hardened towards the behaviors and the attitudes and how we interact with our men. And this also floods over to the co-parenting relationship. And many times we often forget, depending on the societies that we were brought up in, all right? And many societies have not only taught us about the tough guy as being the real masculine guy, but in real parenting terms, it translates to that tough guy being the breadwinner and the provider. It's one of the most obvious stereotypes. It's one of the most long-lasting stereotypes that we have in the parenting relationship and in that male-female relationship. And it also has its downsides. And even though, yes, women have come a far way in being empowered and being closer to being equal earners, this dominant stereotype can often work against men negatively. And because we are in a relationship, yes, we may still not like the person, we may still be going through the roller coaster of emotions depending on how the relationship ended. But at all times, each party has to remember that the other person is a human being. The other person is a human being. And I am going to talk further another day about how the social and the justice system favors the mothers over the fathers. But today I just want us to focus on that fact that we sometimes, in the throes and the cut and thrust of the fight back in the breakup, that we forget that each person is human. And men are different from women in this respect. Women tend to build a tribe where they share, they communicate, they talk about their problems. This is not so with men. Men do not generally have best friends and close friends like we do. Some of them are in family situations, yes, where they have brothers and sisters, and those are their best friends. And I'm just pointing these out because these are part of the reality we live with. But women bond together in a much more closer and intimate setting than men do with other men. So when a man loses a child from divorce or from separation, or perceives that they're losing, or suffer any form of loss, the trauma is great. And the added stress that comes with the breakup of a relationship puts them more at risk. And it is said in the last 3 to 4 decades that men have been 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. So the numbers among men, it's much, much higher. In fact, it is said from a source I got that in the last 45 years, there's been a 60% increase in suicide in men. And this just takes me to a real life illustration that a relative of mine shared with me about someone she knew. So there was a couple, and there was a separation, and there was a little boy involved in the separation. The dad was asked to pay X amount of money per month, and he kept begging and begging and begging and begging for it to be reduced. Anyway, it never happened, and he just got up one day and took his life. And the major point I want to leave with all of us today is that we're all human beings. And even though we have broken up, even though we're in separate places and separate stages of our own recovery and coping, we all, both parties, must be on the lookout for areas where people are showing signs of not coping. And remember that each person is human, and sometimes we can never foresee what's coming. But it doesn't hurt us to use the window of our humanity and our empathy through which to view the other person just as we would want it done to us. Because the memory that is going to be handed to that child that has been left behind can be a memory of guilt. My father couldn't afford to pay my maintenance fee, so he took his life. And so I'm sharing this today to say the co-parenting relationship is a tough one. And since we have so much more information, so much more interventions, and so much more information that's available to us that we can use, we have to be constantly trying to uplift ourselves, both emotionally and psychologically, and to be looking out for the other person as much as we are looking out for ourselves. Because the common thread that binds us together is that child or the children. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow, where I continue to talk about gender stereotyping. Bye.